If hyper Bitcoinization happens, or when it happens, this hyper Bitcoinization could be ignited by a debt tsunami from China's $40 trillion credit bubble. Meanwhile, in the United States, the SEC will be streaming next month's online advisory committee on blockchain technology. And while we wait for Amazon to start accepting cryptocurrency over there, Overstock CEO has answered Jamie Dimon's Bitcoin criticism, while Jamie Dimon's company, JP Morgan Chase, is still posting job ads for technical blockchain managers. So how is this new SEC leadership connected to Bitcoin and the last financial crisis in 2008? Why is Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan Chase sending mixed messages about Bitcoin and blockchain technology? And if the fiat music stops, will the Bitcoin stampede begin? Let's discuss. Hey everybody, I'm Gary Palmer Jr., you're you, and together, welcome to Minting Coins. There's a lot going on in the news. We can't even get to how much is going on in the news. There's just, for every video that we make, there's probably 5 or 6 or 7 other videos that we wish we could make. It's just amazing how little time there is in the day. So with that being said, we're going to get right into it. Feel free to hit that like button, leave your comments in the show notes below, check us out on Steemit. But let's pop right into the market and take a look at the news and let's discuss. All right, so starting over here at coinmarketcap.com, we have the total cryptocurrency market. We've jumped to 871 different cryptocurrencies out there. And in addition to that, the total market cap is $138 billion. So it's creeping up back into those levels that we were becoming familiar with, around north of 140 billion, 150 billion that the total cryptocurrency market was reaching, and then tanked with the China news, the news from JP Morgan, Chase, CEO Jamie Dimon. And now we see it's back up to 138 billion, with past trading in the past 24 hours being about $3.75 billion. And the Bitcoin dominance swelling up to 48%. I'm wondering if it's possible that we could see this Bitcoin price hit over 50% again before we see sort of encroachment upon a lot of these altcoins, which may likely be mooning over the next few years right alongside Bitcoin. We know there's some major updates, major releases coming out across the board, not just with Bitcoin and Bitcoin's technology, but with the Ethereum updates that are released to the testnet as of today. So where are we right now? We have Bitcoin current price about $4,004 per coin, according to coinmarketcap.com, about the same as it was about 24 hours ago. Bitcoin Cash is up, NEM is up, NEO is up, and overtaking OmiseGO once again. It's sort of like this little battle they've had over the past few weeks for that higher market cap. I know they're completely different, where OmiseGO works with Ethereum and NEO is going to be the Ethereum killer. But it's really interesting just to see their relationship in terms of the competition for market capital and for investment into each of those projects. All right. Looking at the Bitcoin price, we just see that the Bitcoin Cash price and the NEM price is up in terms of the overall Bitcoin price as well. And so Bitcoin Cash, we're at 0.124. And so this is, about where we've seen it. We've seen it, I think, as high as 0.14, hovering between 0.12 and 0.14, at least a couple of weeks ago. Everything has taken a hit recently. Turning over to Reddit, there was this interesting post that came out in Reddit talking about how realistic it is for us to see hyper Bitcoinization. And so hyper Bitcoinization is a tipping point from where people start to rush to an exit in fiat. They rush to exit the national currency, and they exit that national currency for Bitcoin. And they do this because there's some sort of event where there's a massive devaluation of the fiat currency. And because there's a massive devaluation of the fiat currency, people then turn to other places to store their wealth, traditionally places like gold and silver. And, but now, if and when a next fiat devaluation event was to happen in the world, and the last one, keep in mind, was in 2008. And not only was that 2008, but in 2009, Bitcoin is born and up and running. So the next event, people are going to take their fiat, put it toward Bitcoin. It's going to cause the value of Bitcoin to instantly shoot up to a degree of magnitude. And when it does, that's going to be defined as a hyper Bitcoinization event. And so Adam on Bitcoin or on Reddit posts this really interesting article that, just his thoughts and sort of a case with these questions and data points. And so definitely check this out, because it's important just to wonder, could this happen? What would this mean? And then what would the world look like through this process and after this process? He links to this website at the nakamotoinstitute.org, where there's this 2014 post about hyper-Bitcoinization. And it just goes into some deeper definition of what this means from this one author's perspective as the voluntary transfer from an inferior currency, which is typically defined as a fiat currency because of the ability to print more of it, and the inflationary effect of printing more of that fiat currency makes everyone's fiat dollars worth less, and then moving over to a superior one. Let it be another fiat currency that has stronger value, or let that be gold that has a stronger value, or in this case, Bitcoin that has a stronger value. And so the author just goes on to say that a hyper-Bitcoinization event would be much quicker than a hyperinflation event. And so we know hyperinflation events can really happen relatively pretty quickly, between a couple months and a year and a half time. The prices can go up pretty dramatically. And so they're predicting that hyper-Bitcoinization would happen much, much quicker. And I'm sure everyone would notice, since everyone is paying such close attention to the price of Bitcoin. If we saw it jump from $4,000 to $5,000 to $7,500 to $10,000, the world would notice. The world would notice that, and according to this author's information, while the world would notice very quickly the hyper-Bitcoinization of the Bitcoin price, it would take much longer for the world to recognize the hyperinflation of the fiat currency. Let that be in China, let that be in America, whatever country that is. The hyperinflation would be, you have $20 and you want to buy a $4 gallon of milk, and let's say a $4 gallon of eggs, and a $4, just you get the idea. You get a couple loaves of bread. Just you have a grocery basket of $20 of food. Hyperinflation could be that 1 gallon of milk is $10, and then you get a gallon of milk, half dozen eggs, and you don't get any of those other things in your cart, because the inflation of the fiat currency is causing the fiat currency to increase in. It's causing the fiat currency to decrease in value. So the fiat currency is less valuable, and when the fiat currency is less valuable, it can purchase less. It has less purchasing power, and so people, if according to this author, you see the price of Bitcoin moon, it's possible that the ability for that Bitcoin to or for the fiat currency to then decrease in value would happen after that, after the noticeability of the Bitcoin price increasing. And then in addition to that, they're also saying that a hyper-Bitcoinization would not disrupt the economy to nearly the same degree as hyperinflation. And that makes a lot of sense, because most people are purchasing their goods and their services with the fiat currency. And so the Bitcoin price going up isn't going to really affect the world, but the world will notice very quickly. The hyperinflation will take more time and will affect the world to a greater degree. So over here, moving to Twitter, we have this one tweet that just says it's a prediction with the hyper-Bitcoinization, if it happens, could be ignited by the unwinding of China's $40 trillion credit bubble. And the fiat music stops. The fiat music stops delivering and stops being profitable and stops allowing people to live the lives that they're comfortable living, especially throughout the whole society it affects, then the stampede into Bitcoin, the fiat currency into Bitcoin, of people's wealth and life savings into Bitcoin, would then increase. And so let this be China's $40 trillion credit bubble, or let this be America's 20 plus trillion dollars in national debt, 20 trillion plus on the books, and then all sorts of other debt that isn't a part of just a national debt. So it's really not just a problem coming out of China, but it's really a problem throughout the entire world, a potential catastrophic correction of the market. So in terms of that's just a possibility of the hyper Bitcoinization and people talking about that. And then turning over into other news and turning over back into the United States, the SEC is going to be having a meeting on blockchain technology, distributed ledger technology, and how this new technology is impacting the securities market, Wall Street, the financial markets within the United States, and as it relates across the global financial industry. This meeting is scheduled for October 12th from 9:30 a.m. to 3:10 p.m. I'd assume that's Eastern time at the SEC headquarters in Washington, D.C. And it's interesting to know that, and fun, we'll be checking it out, that this event is going to be live streamed from the website sec.gov. And so we'll see what sort of interesting information comes out of that. But, before we even get to that meeting, there's going to be other news coming out about the SEC in terms of the SEC between now and then. And there's already been a lot of interesting news that's come out before then as well. For example, we recently talked about how a lawyer at a firm who was advising the Winklevoss twins was actually tapped as the SEC's ETF regulator. And this was Dahlia Blass of the Ropes and Gray law firm, who has since left, and she's now working at the SEC. And what was her exact title in the event? Well, she's at the helm of the organization that's going to be regulating the ETFs. Let's see here. Let's click on this press release real quick. So the SEC names Dahlia Blass as the director of the Division of Investment Management. And so this director of investment management is overseeing the ETFs and could potentially have the final say in an ETF decision in the future, was previously the lawyer for the Winklevoss ETF. And she now works back at the SEC. We talked about her before. She has a very impressive LinkedIn profile. Also, since then, there was a Columbia law professor, Robert Jackson, who's been named as the head honcho, the SEC commissioner, appointed by President Donald Trump, and is going to be taking the open commissioner position for the SEC, a term that is going to last until June 2019, just 7 months before the end of the decade. And that's going to be really interesting. This person's credentials, Robert Jackson's credentials, serving as Columbia's program on corporate law at Columbia Law School, and the policy director, also the Treasury Department's senior advisor during the financial crisis in 2008, helping in all sorts of areas, and the Troubled Asset Relief Program known as TARP. Maybe you heard about TARP in the United States. And so this is someone that has a lot of experience working with the SEC, helping the SEC through one of the worst financial crises that have ever existed in any of our lifetimes. And so this person is going to be helping out for the United States and the SEC moving forward. This meeting that they're going to be having over on October 12th, I believe we just said, Thursday, October 12th, 9:30 a.m. Some of the agenda that they're going to be talking about includes remarks from the commissioners, a discussion regarding blockchain and other distributed ledger technology and the implications for securities markets, an overview of the law school clinic efforts on behalf of retail investors. So it's nice that we have all sides of the situation, perhaps, or at least additional sides, facets of the different constituents who are caring about the regulation that's happening from the SEC. So we'll see who's going to be there that's actually going to represent the retail investors. But they're also going to be talking about a discussion regarding electronic delivery of information to retail investors, which may include a recommendation of the investor as a purchaser subcommittee, subcommittee reports, and a non-public administrative work session during the lunch. So that's going to be really interesting to watch that, see what kind of news comes out of that for that day. Also, so we were talking the other day about Amazon and about Amazon potentially offering Bitcoin. We talked about that in previous videos. Amazon offering or accepting Bitcoin and or Litecoin as an exchange for purchasing items through Amazon. Do you use Amazon? Do you know someone that uses Amazon? Do you not know someone that uses Amazon? And so Amazon is big. Amazon is growing, and if and when Amazon accepts Bitcoin and Litecoin and cryptocurrency, it's going to be a huge marketing push for the industry, for the cryptocurrency industry. And a lot of people are going to start to say, what is this? How do I get some of this? How do I use this to spend this on Amazon? And then they're going to learn about the benefits of the technology that could aid into the hyper Bitcoinization of what's, the things to come in the future. And so Overstock and the CEO of Overstock, Patrick Byrne, he answers Jamie Dimon's criticisms. And so Byrne said that, remember that a year and a half ago, Jamie Dimon wrote a letter to shareholders saying that in terms of Bitcoin and blockchain technology, that this is going to come to eat their lunch. He was scared to death of it. And Byrne was saying that I think what they thought was that they could get in front of it. And now that they're realizing that they can't get in front of it, they like someone just recently purchased $20 million or $50 million of Bitcoin inside this dip. It's a lot of Bitcoin, but $50 million of Bitcoin out of $70 billion. It's not possible for any of these guys to get in front of this anymore. The only person in front of this is Satoshi Nakamoto, so I wonder who that is. But that's for a different video. But in terms of Overstock, Overstock has been one of the first companies to allow its users to buy merchandise online with Bitcoin. And so Overstock is definitely leading the situation. It's definitely leading the retail industry in terms of getting ahead of the wave, getting in front of the wave. Overstock wants to get in front of the wave, and so they're already accepting Bitcoin. If you have Bitcoin and Litecoin, go check it out, see if there's anything there that you can purchase. But is this just a leading indicator of what's to come with the other retail giants such as the Walmarts and the Amazons of the world? How long until they start accepting Bitcoin as well? So I don't think we're that far away from a company like Amazon accepting it when they have a major, Overstock is a major retail competitor that I'm sure as the demand and the awareness grows for Bitcoin, like we see in Google Trends and just as we see in the news overall, that this is already on Amazon's radar for sure. So turning back over to Reddit and getting some more information about some mixed messages flying from JP Morgan as they're posting this job ad for blockchain technician. So it's really interesting because someone's posted here, blockchain technician wanted, must not own or be interested in Bitcoin. Because JP Dimon said anyone who's interested in Bitcoin and this blockchain technology, it's a sham and a fraud. Yet JP Morgan is helping people buy Bitcoin, and JP Morgan is hiring for Bitcoin. And what else do we have here? So we're not going to go through all of this article. So as I said, Bitcoin, the currency. So this is JP Dimon right here saying Bitcoin, the currency, I think is going nowhere. There's nothing behind Bitcoin. And I think if it was big, that the government would stop it. Yet they're hiring for this technical Bitcoin manager Yeah, so I just think it's really important just to mention that Bitcoin was born as a response to poor financial management after the largest banks, including J.P. Morgan Chase, contributed to the 2008 world financial crash, leaving a pressing need for a better banking system. So it's no coincidence that Bitcoin came to fruition in the same year when the world was looking for financial and banking alternatives, and Bitcoin was presented to the world. It's exactly the reason what the things that happened in 2008, leading up to the 2008 world financial crash, that financial companies had a direct hand in instigating and facilitating, including J.P. Morgan Chase, was a direct reason why Bitcoin exists and why people cared that Bitcoin existed. And now J.P. Morgan Chase is hiring for Bitcoin and blockchain experts in one hand, while saying it's no good on the other. It's just a lot of mixed messages. So I really hope that you can see through the FUD and that you can help other people in your community see through this FUD as well. So here's the job application. All this is going to be linked in the show notes below. Location, Jersey City, New Jersey, right outside New York City, the home of the financial world. We have primary responsibilities of this job position: project execution across the CIB blockchain focus engineering program, top qualifications, experienced self-starter that can take ownership of programs and projects, set timelines, work with sponsors, understand and drive forward strategies for completing efforts. If you meet this description, then why are you not working for your own company or a blockchain company that has, a lot more in terms of the potential to deliver for the world, instead of a proprietary blockchain technology for JP Morgan Chase that people are going to turn away from anyways? I mean, why don't you get a time machine, go back in time and, work at AOL your whole life, right? Instead of starting your own startup and then turning it into Google or something to that effect. I mean, it's just really interesting to see how the banking they probably do offer a lot of money. They probably do have great benefits, so they have that going for them, I suppose. What are you more interested in? Are you more interested in a super high paycheck and great benefits, or would you rather, if you fulfilled all these requirements here, would you rather go start an open source product that can really change the world and revolutionize the world and bring new technology to everybody in the world? And for example, one of those places that you can go to, change the world is that there's this developer's guide at developers.google.com talking about the deep dive into the payments request API. And this is really interesting. This is really interesting because as a part of this developer's kit and this API, it allows you to pass any 3 characters, and it's going to be treated as a valid currency code. And the reason for this is that it allows the support of future currencies. Google's already ahead of the game. Google's already putting their technology in the forefront of what's happening. For example, Bitcoin can be supported with Bitcoin's currency code XBT. And then down here, there's this little comparison of the USD and XBT currencies on the payment request UI, the user interface. And so right here, you can see how it shows up: USD payment, XBT for Bitcoin payment. And, potentially this can be built up for any sort of future currency. Let it be Litecoin, Ether, perhaps something to do with the Omizi Go token or the Kyber network, perhaps. But this is in here in the developers.google API. So anybody with these blockchain skills, programming skills, can start to build really interesting projects and, do things involving payments with a lot of technology that's pretty much open source and existing out there, and, in some cases open source. But this is just another example with what Google has going on. And then also, I just would be remiss if we didn't at least mention this again. We mentioned it yesterday, but just make sure everyone's on the same page here. The Ethereum's next hard fork is now officially being tested as of yesterday on the test net. And so this is Byzantium. And so Byzantium is the first part of Ethereum's long-awaited Metropolis upgrade, and it has officially launched on the test net. And it's expected to run for a few weeks for troubleshooting and testing and whatnot before the fork actually occurs on the main Ethereum blockchain, the live actual Ethereum blockchain. Because as this article mentions, it is the world's second largest cryptocurrency by market cap. And so they definitely don't want to have bad code go live on a blockchain, because for future reference, that's not good. And so looking ahead, the testing is going to take about 3 weeks to complete. And this is suggesting that the actual Byzantium hard fork is likely to occur sometime around October 9th. And so that's going to happen sometime around October 9th. And then October 12th, we have the SEC live streaming just to help you keep these dates in your head, because there's just a lot going on. October, November, and then November we have a Consensus conference, I believe in New York City, about Ethereum and all that good stuff. In Hong Kong in November, we have the Ethereum Classics Summit, where they're going to be announcing everything that they have going on. We talked about that recently as well. But around October 9th is when we're expecting the Byzantium to go live, a live hard fork on the live Ethereum blockchain. Contingent, of course, whether there's no problems. If there's no problems, it's going to be sooner. If they find unanticipated problems, then it could definitely be later. And so you can go check out here in the show notes. You can see a live infographic of the Byzantium fork on the Rothstein testnet, and so that's sort of interesting to just watch that move down. And then moving back over to Reddit before we cut out of this show, I thought this was really inspirational to see this post by someone on /RBitcoin, and they're just saying that they're sending informative letters to at least 100 shops and bars in their area about Bitcoin and essentially the blockchain technology. And so, this is just great, because this is going to increase the success of Bitcoin and blockchain overall. If you get into this article, some people say, hey, this isn't really going to work. It's not really going to have a huge effect. And the point that isn't to be like Johnny Appleseed and to simply, plant one Bitcoin seed at a time across the entire world. But the idea is to make a small disruption in your community. The idea is to, you tell two people and have those two people tell two people. And in this case over here, the person in this post telling 100 business owners, they're going to tell 100 business owners who may look into it, be interested, put a Bitcoin logo on their storefront, and then let that be another currency that they decide to accept. And that they let people know about, and that they let their 100 patrons know that they accept Bitcoin. It's just wonderful, because the more people who have a Bitcoin address, the safer everybody is, including you. The more people who have a little bit of Bitcoin, the safer everybody is, including you. And the more people that have Bitcoin and are making transactions and able to have transactions, the stronger the entire economy gets, the stronger the whole ecosystem gets, the wealthier everyone becomes as more Bitcoin is flowing from person to person throughout the economy, and businesses are selling products and services and exchanging value with this new medium of exchange, where people can understand this technology, be aware of how this technology works, and then to have this become a part of their lives and who they are sooner than later, since this is the direction that we're going. Bitcoin is going up, all the way up. Ethereum's going up. Anything can crash. None of this is financial advice. This is not a financial channel or a trading channel. This is a channel about Bitcoin and blockchain technology and the possibilities of the future. And looking at what we know about the technology, looking at the direction exponentially that this technology is growing, just as radio had in the past, just have TVs had in the past, just as the internet and computers have in the past. We are seeing this go with Bitcoin and blockchain technology. So really exciting times. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of the show. Leave your comments in the comments box below. Let me know what you think about anything that we talked about. And what else? Hit that like button. Really appreciate everything that everyone is doing, everything that everyone is saying. It means so much to help keep us going. Go check us out on Steemit, and please subscribe to our channel for more. Thank you very much. And until next time, I'm glad that together we're minting coins.